What's up, guys? Today I just want to talk a little bit about Brian Shaw and my prediction on his upcoming match, and also where I see him going in the sport of arm wrestling in the future. So, for his upcoming match against Eddie Hall, King of the Table 13, in my opinion, I do believe that Brian Shaw is going to win. I think it's going to be fairly dominant. I don't think that Eddie's going to just have enough in the hand and wrist for Brian. Obviously, we know Eddie is very strong in his upper body. I just think that the way Brian has been adapting to the new training style, and given his his starting point with how strong that dude's hands are already, I think it's going to be a bad day for Eddie Hall. I think Brian Shaw is taking his training as seriously as he can. From everything I've been seeing on his YouTube videos, it seems like he's treating his arm wrestling training in the same type of way he used to treat his strongman training. Very serious. His diet is like on point right now. His training is very serious, frequently training arm wrestling specific movements. Now, this is not to say that Eddie Hall is not taking his training seriously. You guys may have seen he's been training with Neil Pickup. Neil's kind of been his coach. I've been getting some good table time together. It does seem like Eddie is learning a lot and is starting to look like he's moving okay on the table. I think his go-to move is to kind of shoot the shoulder forward a little bit and get on his tricep. Obviously, Eddie, extremely strong pressing power. If that guy can get into a press and get you on his tricep, it's going to be tough for anybody to hold. Uh, Personally, I just don't think he's even going to be able to get there with Brian Shaw. I think Brian's going to be a little too much. And I could be, I'm not sure if this is a best of 5 or best of 7 match. But I do believe it's going to be a sweep for Brian Shaw. I'm not saying Eddie is not taking this very seriously. I do believe he is. I just think there's nothing that Eddie could possibly do to actually prepare enough to beat the Brian Shaw that is going to show up on that day. That's my opinion. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree in the comments and why. Moving on, Brian Shaw's future in the sport. Personally, I'm very excited. As soon as I heard that Brian Shaw was going to commit a substantial amount of time to arm wrestling and really dive into the sport and take it very seriously and have it be his main focus, I was very excited. And this is because Brian Shaw, for quite a number of years now, has been my favorite strength sport athlete. I remember being pretty young and seeing World's Strongest Man on ESPN and seeing Brian Shaw from the USA up there just wrecking guys. Just dude was unstoppable. And so he's really been one of my favorite strength sport athletes for a long time, if not my favorite. And being a huge fan of arm wrestling, it was very exciting when I heard he was getting into the sport. So my hopes are very high. It does seem like he is extremely motivated. The one thing I don't like is I think we all kind of want to know where Brian Shaw's at in comparison to the professional elite level arm wrestler. And I don't think we're going to find that out in this match with Eddie Hall. Kind of because it's hard to say where Eddie Hall is as well, right? He's never had a serious arm wrestling match, and at least in a very long time. So it's gonna be hard to gather a lot of data about Brian Shaw's true strength in arm wrestling with his performance against Eddie, whether it's good or bad. It's really gonna be hard to determine. I really want to see him go up against an arm wrestler who has been doing it for a long time professionally, that we kind of more or less know where they're at in comparison to everyone else, and then see how Brian does. I think that'll be a better litmus test for where Brian truly is. Now, obviously, I think the guy has all the potential in the world. I think if he took it seriously for the next 4 years, he could be. I don't see why he couldn't be right at the top of the sport. I'm not one of those people saying that he can go beat Levon right now. I don't love all the talk about, oh, Brian versus Levon right away. I mean, I don't even know how much he wants that narrative floating around right now. I think he does understand that it's going to take a long time for him to really reach the top of the sport, even though he's already at such a high base level of strength. So I think he's aware of that. And obviously, if Brian Shaw were to go against Levon right now, I think we all know what would happen. But I really would like to see, I'd be looking forward to Brian Shaw's next match even more, hopefully against somebody who we kind of know where their level's at, which will give us a much better idea of exactly where Brian Shaw is at. I'm super excited for his future in the sport. I do think he could go a long way. I'm interested to know, if you guys are watching this, let me know in the comments, who would you like to see Brian Shaw face in his next super match after Eddie Hall? Maybe this greatly depends on if he wins or not. But assuming he wins, I would like to know who you guys think would be a next good poll. I've heard Kirill Sarachev, which could be interesting. Obviously came from a strength sport athlete with powerlifting. So I think that could be interesting. But who else? Who else would you guys want him to pull? Anyways, I'm really excited. Oh, another good point that I read in the comments somewhere was talking about the after pulls, and they were saying, "Oh, Brian Shaw is going to be the most popular guy in the after pull table," and that's something I just completely didn't even think about. That the fact that there's always after pulls, and hopefully Brian Shaw will stick around to get a table, and I'm almost more interested in that footage with him sparring with a lot of known arm wrestlers than I am his match with Eddie Hall. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Who do you think is going to win between Brian Shaw and Eddie Hall? And what do you see for Brian Shaw in the future arm wrestling? What's your prediction? Where do you think he's going to end up? All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. See you later.